All right, let's bring in Kevin Green, senior markets correspondent, right away to help set up the action today. So it looks like there will be pressure today, at least starting out the gate. What's your take on what to expect today, KG?
Yeah, Diane, I think this is actually very healthy for the market. We have obviously been in a compression type of range here, and right before NVIDIA's earnings, we were actually hitting the upper end of resistance when you're looking at the S&P 500. We got above that 20-day moving average, above the 50-day moving average and closed, but if you look at the highs from the last month and a half or so, that has been an area of resistance. We have seen a little bit of a rejection there, and I think this is just options positioning as well as just rebalancing in general. The fact that we continue to see this rotation in the market and we're not seeing net cash coming out of the market for the most part, I think is actually very healthy here. And you have a situation where NVIDIA has done this before, where we have seen it slide after the earnings announcement. The market does take a little bit of a breather. We consolidate and then try to break higher. I think if you break below this 100-day moving average for the S&P 500, though, that's when you start having that discussion that maybe we start to flush here a tad bit. If you're looking at the weekly chart for the technology sector, it looks like it wants to start kind of rolling over here a tad bit. Communication services the same way here. So I think we're still a little bit in a battle, but I think this is healthy. We also are in month end, so we have to be mindful of that. We usually do see a fair amount of volatility on month ends as well. We have elevated vol at this point in time, and we may have some uncertainty, geopolitical risk that's taking place, and also this battle between Anthropic and the Pentagon could also spill over to that AI trade, causing a little bit more volatility.
Okay, let's talk about the shifting sands in the media landscape. Paramount Skydance ultimately coming up the victor here, which up until this week, I didn't see that one coming, but it did seem like things were shifting. So bring us up to speed on this.
Diane, hopefully we can put the nail in the coffin when it comes to this story. It's been a long time coming, obviously a back and forth between Netflix, Warner Brothers Discovery, as well as Paramount. This deal has been kind of capturing the headlines, but it seems like we might be at the end of this story. It looks like Netflix is declining to raise its cash offer for Warner Brothers Discovery here, which would make Paramount Skydance actually the winner in this particular bid. Now, this is a $31 all-cash offer, and Paramount's also agreeing to paying the $7 billion breakup fee to Netflix because of the breakup of this agreement, of this tentative agreement, as well as the $2.8 billion breakup fee that is also a part of this particular deal. So it seems like we are seeing maybe an ending to this particular saga. Netflix actually moved higher on this announcement. There was maybe some questions around the addition of this particular portfolio at the current price that they were actually offering, knowing that Netflix has kind of a niche in this market right now. The offers were also a little bit different as well. Netflix really wanted to kind of focus on some of the, I would say, stable or non-linear TV assets, whereas you look at Paramount. Paramount was really also trying to include a lot of the news networks within this deal as well. So there's still going to be a regulatory hurdle right now when it comes to this deal, but it looks like Netflix is backing out. Netflix is high on the session because of their ability to kind of maintain their level of cash as well as their discipline when it comes to this particular deal.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the price action in Block, ticker XYZ. I saw that post that Jack Dorsey made on Twitter X last night, and I was like, whoa, that's huge. To just make a big cut like that. So I know they have earnings, but this is a big headline that we have to get into here. Take us through what your takeaways are, not just from earnings, but on the big picture here for Block.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey basically ripping the Band-Aid off when it comes to artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact their labor force. And you are seeing the announcement of around 4,000 roles that are going to be eliminated within this layoff here. That's around 40% of the overall workforce for XYZ or Block, if you will. Now, this is in order to try to expand AI capabilities on a leaner workforce. Obviously, it's going to also reduce expenses, and that should also improve margins moving forward. Now, they are expecting that the restructuring costs are going to cost around $450 million to $500 million, and most of that is going to be charged in Q1 fiscal year 2026 here. So they did also report earnings. Earnings were okay. They were actually better than the street's expectations. The adjusted earnings per share came in at 65 cents. Street was looking for that particular number to come through, and revenue came in at $6.25 billion. Street was looking for $6.23 billion. Cash App is really kind of driving this growth, especially if you're looking at the gross profit. profit. So they're making a little bit of an adjustment, kind of a surprise for the market. You are seeing a bid in the shares. You are seeing some analysts actually raising their price targets on this company as well. And this might be the future that we see for a lot more companies moving forward. But Jack Dorsey, in that note, in that post that you talked about, which was actually kind of a little bit refreshing and very transparent, just stated that obviously they do see the synergies here, and they wanted to kind of get this over with rather than kind of prolonging the layoffs, which could actually impact morale.
I thought the same thing as you. I wonder if we'll see more instances like this. And at least they're offering a certain package for the people who are affected by it. Let's get into CoreWeave. It posted its quarterly results as well. Those shares are under pressure. Take us through the numbers here.
So CoreWeave reported revenue of $1.57 billion. Street was looking for around $1.55 billion, so a small beat there. The adjusted net loss, though, was actually a lot bigger than the Street's expectations. That came in at a loss of $284 million. Street was looking for around $36 million, and their adjusted operating margin actually was reduced down to 6%. That's down from 16% on a year-over-year basis if you're looking at this time last year here. They are obviously ramping up their CapEx spend. That's eating into their margins. They are spending in order to try to expand out the data centers to land some of the bigger clients out there. For the purchases of the NVIDIA GPUs obviously is going to be a very expensive endeavor here. And then also energy procurement. So they're spending a lot of money. Obviously they're not cash flow positive at this point in time. This stock is very volatile. We know that it's kind of in its startup phase, and I think the question or the concern that you have as a longer-term investor is the fact that they are building out so aggressively. Are they going to be able to continue to maintain and even take some market share for some of the bigger hyperscalers that are also doing the same in-house? So this is actually a very interesting move here. Once again, I've seen a move to the downside, but kind of not surprising given the volatility of the fundamentals that they report on a quarter-over-quarter basis, and the fact that they continue to have to spend money in order to try to expand their operations.
Okay, and then let's get your levels on the S&P 500 today. What are you looking out for to the downside and upside?
Yeah, to the upside, 69.40. To the downside, 6,800. VIX is implying around a 1.3% move. And like I said, we are at month end. So sometimes we do see these wild swings on an intraday basis. So this might be actually a very interesting day for the intraday traders out there that are looking to scalp.
Thank you, KG. Last trading day of the month. Thank you for setting up the day and the deep dive in some of those results.